to liberate Crimea, to get it back to Ukrainian control, you have to isolate it, which they're doing by destroying the other bridges, by destroying ships that were bringing fuel, destroying the ferries that were supplementing the bridge, and by wrecking the logistics efforts on the mainland that runs from Azov down to the north of the Crimean Peninsula. Any Russian military convoys out there get hammered. That's isolating it. The making it untenable is destroying airfields, all the stuff that's on Crimea, naval facilities, airfields, air defense weapons, radar, logistics, so that the Russians cannot use it as a military launching pad, if you will, or headquarters or logistics site to support operations up in the southern part of Ukraine. Things are moving in the right direction for Ukraine. There will be a massive, I think, there will be a significant political problem for Putin when Crimea is finally back under Ukraine's control. Because, he has made that such a big deal, and that bridge and all of this, and that would be, you don't have a problem. And I can't predict, I don't understand Russian thinking all the time, how the population thinks about things, but I mean, that will create not only military problems for the Russians, but it will create political problems for him, and there'll be a psychological aspect to this as well, and Russians will be unhappy about it, I'm sure. Ukraine's job is not to keep Putin in power, it's to recover their lost sovereign territory. And then for the future, you don't want Russia occupying Crimea, because then they continue to make problems on the Black Sea coastline for Ukraine, and in the Black Sea where there's oil and gas out there. It makes problems for Romania and Ukraine. It blocks access up into Azov Sea. So these are all reasons why Ukraine, cannot accept Russia retaining control. They're trying to regain their sovereign territory, including Crimea. You want as many Russians who are there illegally to get the hell out of there. That's what it's all about. Of course, Ukrainians can see what's moving on the bridge, and and what I believe is that the Russians are no longer pushing fuel or ammunition across the big bridge because they're worried that Ukrainians would time a strike to get the extra explosive like they did, the first time a couple of years ago. So if it's only vehicle traffic that's coming across, then that's not really much of a military consideration to stop it. In my view, it makes sense. Now they'll eventually drop it, is my guess, because you don't want the Russians to be able to continue blocking the through the Kerch Strait up into Azov Sea. But I think that makes sense that they're doing that. Plus, frankly, I mean, it would take a lot to destroy that bridge. They're achieving their effect of isolating Crimea and making it untenable by doing what they're doing. President Zelensky said over 4 years ago that winning the war means restoration of the borders of 1991. That includes Crimea, obviously, but all of Ukraine back to the internationally recognized borders, which even Russia had recognized before. That's what winning looks like. And so, not only is it possible or likely, I mean, that's the goal, the objective of Ukraine's war effort. And so, I mean, it's not done yet, and I'm not going to put a date on it or guarantee anything. But to me, it's clear that things are happening now that give Ukraine a great opportunity to recover all of Crimea. And it's not just what they're doing in and around Crimea. It's the long-range precision strike that they're conducting against Russia's oil and gas infrastructure. That has an impact on what Russia's able to do. Their ability to sustain the war is being severely damaged it's not just about long gas queues across Russia, it's also about wrecking their economy. Any vessel to sail under the Kerch Bridge, had to get permission from authorities there, because the Russians are terrified that Ukraine would somehow get control of a ship and ram it into one of the supports for the bridge, or just blow it up while it's under the bridge. So for security reasons, they were controlling egress coming out of the Kerch Strait. And so that's why they were in a queue. Well, it's hugely important because, number one, this is part of isolating Crimea so that they can't get fuel there. That's a part of it, and that means Crimea cannot be a logistics base for Russian forces north of Crimea. It also puts a lot of pressure on the local Russian government and Russians who are still living there if they can't get fuel for their vehicles or for their generators. And so that has a direct, significant impact. And then, of course, this complements Ukraine's long-range precision strike campaign against Russia's oil and gas export industry by also removing shadow fleet vessels, taking them off the table so that they're no longer there to transport oil. Even though most of these were smaller vessels, nonetheless, that it makes a difference. And so I've been impressed with how Ukraine has done this in such a comprehensive, thorough way. Well, I think I'm trying to use the word momentum. The momentum has clearly changed in favor of Ukraine over the last several months. When you look at Russian casualties, their inability to make any real progress on the ground, their Black Sea fleet is not a factor anymore. The only thing, and of course Ukraine is successfully conducting long-range strike and medium-range strike with drones and some of their own missiles. The one thing that they cannot do yet is stop all the ballistic missiles that Russia is launching against, civilian targets across Ukraine, murdering innocent Ukrainian civilians. They're not able to do that yet. But all the other things, the momentum is in favor of Ukraine. That doesn't mean there's not problems, but the momentum is in favor of Ukraine. And of course, Russia will do what they can to shift that momentum back, or to somehow regain the initiative. That's what they'll be trying to do.